I was just
Hey,
wondering if that's my main man, Pharmacist Ben, in the house.
yes, in the house. That's where I'm
How
at.
how are you, sir?
Good, AJ. What's going on, man?
Nothing much. I'm hoping your weekend was good.
Weekend was good. We're gonna talk about skin.
We're gonna talk about. I'm gonna give you the title. We are gonna talk about the real truth about your skin.
Real truth about your skin. I like that.
Truth is in quotes, yeah.
Truth. Now, I don't usually talk about my truth treatments, but I always felt, I'm a dermatology pharmacist by trade. My background is dermatology. When I went to pharmacy, you know the story. When I went to pharmacy school, I studied, I worked with the Blistex guy, I studied Blistex, et cetera. So I learned about the skin. And when I graduated pharmacy school, because that was my expertise, I started what's called a compounding pharmacy. We all know the term these days, but back then it was kind of there you go. I started Blistex. Blistex. I made so much Blistex, you wouldn't believe pounds of buckets of Blistex. And let me tell you, it ain't a nice product. It is
Oh,
not a nice product. But let
thank
me.
you.
This is
Thank
no.
you.
This is what I was going to explain to you, because the lips are almost like a representative of the entire skin system. The skin system is called the integument, technically.
Oh, wow.
Integument. Integument. The integument is the covering. And the lips are part of the integument, but they stick out. And because they stick out of our face, they're more susceptible to damage, to dryness, to the assaults of the environment, the humidity levels, the toxicity in the environment, which they call the exposome. The exposome refers to all the stuff we're exposed to. They call it the exposome. And so the lips are more subject to that. So nature has set up a system where the lips are like super skin. They contain more protective molecules than the skin does. The skin contains protective molecules. Human skin should never be dry. Human skin should never be sensitive. Human skin should never be rashy. Human skin should never be broken out, because there are systems in place to protect the skin. And the lips have even more of those systems. Some of those systems that protect the skin, this is so cool. If you haven't heard this, probably you may have heard this from me before, but some of the systems that are in the skin for protection are sponges, literal molecular sponges. What does a sponge do? Sucks up
Water. Yep.
Sucks up water, right? You have literal molecular sponges, and by that I mean little molecules that suck up water in your lips and in your skin, right? Why would that be? Well, when the lips need to stay hydrated, the skin needs to stay hydrated, these sponges suck up water from the atmosphere. You literally suck up water. The skin will absorb water from the atmosphere via these little molecular sponges. They're molecules that attract water. But when you use your Blistex, or for your skin, you use I hate this word. Always have to do this. Moisturizer, because there's no such thing. When you use your moisturizer, dumbest product in all of consumerism is a moisturizer. Think about it. How do you put a cream with oil and silicone and wax? And where's the moisture? Right? It's just nonsense. So you have a moisturizer, right? On your skin. Guess what happens to the sponges? They get suppressed. They shut down. You've now blocked the sponges. There's no need for the sponges. You suppress sponge activity and inhibit sponge proliferation, and that condition is even worse on the lips, because the lips are so packed with these sponges. So the more Blistex you use, the drier your lips, and the more lotion or moisturizer you use, the drier your skin. Which means the dumbest thing that we could ever put on our dry lips is Blistex or Carmex or chapstick or any of these things. If you want to assure yourself that you will be using Blistex and Carmex and chapstick and these kinds of products, whatever it is, Burt's Bees, for the rest of your life, then use them. And you'll be stuck. And there's people who can't go 10 minutes without their chapstick. I have a friend, she freaks the F out when she can't find her chapstick. She freaks. Where's my chapstick? She's panicked because now her lips are going to be really dry. And the same thing is true with moisturizers. And the reason companies get away with this is because we don't understand how our bodies work in general and how our skin works in specific. And we had this, like, you may be excused, go to the bathroom, whatever it is. I always think that when you do that. I have to go to the bathroom. And then, you know, there was a gal, I forgot her name, Michelle. Was that Michelle that we talked to just now?
Yep.
So Michelle, she called me up, and I've not spoken to her, but we've WhatsApped for a couple of months, or maybe for a year or so.
Wow.
And she asked me a really interesting question yesterday. She said, "What can I, from a nutritional standpoint, what can I do for my skin?" And I said, "Michelle, that is a huge, huge question. You can write a whole book on that. You can't just say, what can you take?" So I said, "Michelle, come on the call. Come on our call tomorrow." And then you called me up, or you texted me and said, "What should we do the show about?" And I said, "We'll do it on skin." And that is the reason I said that is because Michelle had called me and she said, "What can I do for my skin?" So I thought we could, I'm going to say kill two birds with one stone, because that's essentially what we're going to be doing here. We'll help Michelle out, and we'll help everybody out, because everybody wants to know about skin. Everybody's happy with skin, and people want, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to me that people care more about their skin than they do about their livers and their spleens. It's like, the inside of their body.
Out of sight, out of mind. But, Pharmacist Ben, well, I had a couple thoughts, but I guess the one question I would need to ask is, what about women that put on lipstick?
That's probably not a good idea either. What's the point of lipstick anyway? What is the point of lipstick?
Every woman wears vanity. I mean, every woman.
Do you know why women wear lipstick? Do you want to know why women wear lipstick? I'll tell you why. It's called evolutionary biology. You ever hear of evolutionary biology?
Okay.
Evolutionary biology refers to the biological the biology of the body, we'll say, with as it relates to how we evolved, as from caveman days to from being in the trees, 500,000 years ago, or 1,000,000 years ago, or 2,000,000 years ago to today. We evolved, and our biology and there's a biological impact or a biological connection to how we evolved. So what do I mean by that? What part of the body is the most important? AJ, I'm talking to you. This is for you.
Listening, sir.
What part of the body, from an evolutionary perspective, is the most important part of a body for a woman? Don't you have to think too hard.
I know it's
you
late.
Good guess.
I can't really talk about it.
Okay, well, we're not going to mention the part, because we're a family show. Okay. But what part? Somebody says face and hair. Is that you? No.
That's Becca.
For a woman, that separates her from a man. Wink, wink. What part of the body? Okay, y'all know what I'm saying. Hey, she says, "Oh."
The kneecaps. The kneecaps.
Not the kneecaps. No, not the kneecaps. So you just know the part of the body I'm talking about. Well, that part of the body is the most important part of a body from an evolutionary perspective. Why? Because that's how you make babies. That's how you evolve. That's how you procreate, right? That's how the race continues. So obviously that part of the body is very important. And in fact, many of the things we do, AJ, you and I can relate to this, are because of that part of the body, of a woman's body. Lots of things we do.
Everything
we do. Everything, pretty much, right? So that part of the body, you would agree, that's very important to the human race for a lot of reasons. And part of it involves traction, right? Well, when is that part of the body the most alive, the most active, the most responsive? Is at certain times of the month, right? And during those times in an animal, that part of the body will get red. Are you following me?
I'm listening.
Okay. That part of the body gets red. Red, the color red, and engorged. Are you listening?
I'm listening closely.
What lipstick does is it communicates a message. Now, what message would that be, AJ?
Is that
I'm fertile. I'm alive. I can make a baby. I'm red. I'm engorged. Just like it's a signal. And that's why we wear lipstick. Not we. That's why women wear lipstick, to say, hey, I can make a baby. It's all about making babies. So when you say, what about lipstick? She says, no more lipstick for me. So, all right. Well, now you know. That's what it is. That's what it is. So when you say lipstick, you don't need lipstick. That's crazy unless you want to, it's evolutionary biology. What makes lips better when they're red? It's just, aside from fertility, nothing.
Nothing. But you know what? If a woman has a bright red lipstick on, for some reason you kind of
think she's alive. She's fertile. She's full with life force.
All right.
That's what it communicates. I'm filled with life force. I'm red. I'm engorged.
Yeah. I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm just gonna.
Don't get in trouble. We don't need to talk about that.
Let's move forward.
And I'm a lip expert, by the way. I've studied lips for many years. One of my jobs when I worked for Blistex was go to the library and research lips, believe it or not. And the lips it's amazing tissue.
Well, you have certainly. This is a live show, Cliff. We
Yes.
are live with Ben.
Yes.
Pharmacist Ben's Bytes.
Yes.
Today is December 8th. The year is almost over. Hey, Keely. Love seeing you. And Keely knows. And then, yes, we got our whole crew and bunch of folks in. Pharmacist Ben.
So you want to talk skin?
I want to bring on Michelle and address her question. And maybe we can lead into...
Okay.
Michelle, can you turn your camera on? Because we do have other questions as well.
Yes. Hi. How are you?
Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
Nice to see you. You're in Florida or New York?
I'm in New York.
New York. And where in New York again? You told me.
In Manhattan.
Oh, you're right in Manhattan. Oh, nice. Yeah. Very nice. Okay.
You're my neighbor.
Yes. AJ is from is that Manhattan or is Harlem? Manhattan, right?
Yeah, that's Manhattan.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. AJ's from Manhattan too. What part of Manhattan are you in? The south part, west part, east part?
Me? Upper East Side.
Upper East Side. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so and you're on the east side too? You're on the east side too, AJ?
No, I'm above her, but I could guess the Upper East Side.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So here's the dealio. Michelle asked me about skin, and I've been doing skin for many, many years, and I have a lot to say about it. But I get this question a lot, Michelle, which is, what can I do for my skin? Obviously, that's a typical thing to ask, and it's a very complicated issue because it involves the entire body. And one of the principles that we talk about, that I talk about, and we talk about in this program, is where you see the problems, not where the problem begins.
Right.
So in order to really deal with a problem, you got to go upstream. That's not what doctors do. Our dermatologists, our cardiologists, our neurologists, they don't go upstream. They see the skin, they see the heart, they see the brain. It doesn't work that way. Once you see the skin, it's over. You got to get to tomorrow's skin. And luckily, the skin constantly turns over. That's point number one. So because the skin constantly turns over, whatever skin condition you have today, you don't have to have 4 to 8 weeks from today because it can correct itself every 4 to 8 weeks. That's first of all. Secondly, the skin is not the skin in the sense that it's not one thing. It's made up of different components. So you have the surface. Well, you have the components are divided into two ways. You have the layers, that's surface, middle, and lower. Those are the three layers. And then within that, they're also divided into cells, which is where everything comes from, and stuff, which is what we see. Cells and stuff. So in order to address the skin, you got to address it on those two levels. Number one, the layers, and number two, the cells and stuff. That's the first point. When you look at the skin, you can't look at it as one piece. You got to look at it as cells and stuff, and you got to look at it as layers. So first of all, let's talk about the cells and stuff. The cells, there's two main cells. They're called keratinocytes or skin cells and fibroblasts. Those are the cells that make the plump tissue. And you have beautiful plump skin, by the way. Michelle, you're a young woman, but that doesn't happen. Your grandmother doesn't look like that, I'm sure.
Right.
So there's a distinction, and that distinction is that beautiful tissue that's so plump and juicy. And you're getting red here. I'm sorry to embarrass you.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
I don't mean to embarrass you, but that's what we want. We want like bouncy tissue, right? As we get older, it becomes flatter and thinner. And the bounce is caused by a combination. That's what we're looking for. Everybody out there who wants beautiful skin, they want a few things, but one of the main things they want is that bounce. Like if you touch your skin right now, it bounce. But if you
Right.
touch grandma's skin, it wouldn't bounce, right? That's the difference between you and grandma, right? We
Is
want
that
to,
due to the elastin and collagen?
not quite, but
Okay.
partially. Okay,
Mhm.
very good though. Are you a health professional by any chance?
No, I'm not.
No, you just know some stuff.
I'm
Okay.
just interested in it. Yeah.
Okay, good. That's good. It's good stuff to be interested in. So yes, partially, but here's the thing. What is it that the collagen and the elastin, what is it that they combine with to make the bounce? Water.
Mm.
It's a combination of three things that give it the bounce. Number one, collagen, and collagen has partners, elastin and reticulin, but we'll call it collagen. Okay, but elastin and reticulin are similar, not exactly, but they're part of the same complex. So we'll call it we'll just refer to collagen and water and something in between the collagen and the water called goo. Of course, it's not called goo, but it's I think of it like goo. It's really polysaccharide and proteoglycan. And the most famous is something called hyaluronic acid, which you've heard of.
Right.
There's a few of them, but hyaluronic acid is the one that gets all the press, and we'll just use that as a symbol. But there's other ones too. So you got the hyaluronic acid, you got the collagen, and you got water. And the combination of those three elements is what makes your skin have that bounce that we all love so much. So the key to having that youthful skin is to make sure you're sustaining collagen, hyaluronic acid, and allowing that the collagen and hyaluronic acid to contact water. There's three elements here. Okay, you've got hyaluronic, or we'll say hyaluronic acid. You got collagen, you got water. There's three elements. So how do you get these three elements? Number one, collagen. So from the positive side, or let's forget it. We'll call collagen and hyaluronic acid together because those two elements come from one cell called the fibroblast. Remember I said there's two cells? There's a skin cell and the fibroblast. The fibroblast makes the collagen and the hyaluronic acid, right? So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that fibroblast is healthy so that it can make the collagen and the hyaluronic acid. And you want to make sure your body has the raw materials, or the cell has the raw materials to build that. And that comes from two directions. The positive direction is what are you going to put in the body and on the body, because with the skin we have an outside, the heart you don't have an outside, but the skin you have an outside. You can work two ways with the skin. So what can we do to drive the fibroblasts? This is very important, driving the fibroblasts. Remember, the fibroblasts are cells, and all cells need nutrition, they need oxygen, and they need to be detoxified. They need a clean place to do their work. Nutrition for the fibroblast is the same as nutrition for any other cell, and that's the beauty of it, because when you feed the fibroblast, you'll feed your heart cell, you have a better heart. When you feed the fibroblast, you'll feed your bone cell, have better bone. When you feed the fibroblast, you'll feed your brain cells, have better brain. You see where I'm going with this? You'll have a better heart. So that's the beauty. That's the beauty, is when you feed the fibroblast, you get a better heart, and you get a better brain, and you get a better digestive system, et cetera, et cetera. The fibroblasts and all cells need the mighty 90 essential nutrients, all of them, but especially the fats. The fats are especially important for cells because the key, what do you think the key part of a cell is? See if you can guess what the most important part of a cell is.
Mitochondria?
Not quite, but they're very important. But the most important part of the cell that determines, see, the cell can live without mitochondria, but there's one part it can't live without. The membrane. The membrane is the key to everything. In fact, membranes in general are the key to health. Membranes are where one substance gets turned into another substance. Think of what a membrane is, right? A membrane is the boundary between this and that. And in terms of a cell, a membrane is going to determine how healthy the cell is going to be, always. And the membrane is made up of fats. Distorted and disturbed membranes are where disease begins. When we talk about all disease being cell disease, we're mostly talking about membranes. And not just, Michelle said mitochondria, which is really interesting because, check this out. When I say membranes, what do you think of? You think of the outside part of a cell. But do you know there is way more membranes from a surface area perspective inside the cell? From an outside perspective, you got a circle. It's not really a circle. It's more like a blob, but we'll call it a circle. and that's a membrane, right? But inside the cell, you've got way more surface area membranes. Michelle said the mitochondria. The mitochondria only work because they're membranes. Do you know this? If you looked at a mitochondria, the membranes are incredible. They're crazy how tiny and regulated and nano-architected, structured, like at an atomic level. There's membranes that go like this, and they're incredible detail. And inside the cell, you have things like the Golgi apparatus, and you have the endoplasmic reticulum, and you've got all of these little substructures, lysozymes or lysosomes. You got all of these little structures inside that have membranes. The nucleus is a membrane. There's membranes and membranes and membranes, and the membranes are made of fat. You with me here?
Yes.
The membranes are fatty. So the key to beautiful, healthy cells, especially for the skin, because the skin is very dynamic, is in the fats. It's always in the fats, the fats, the fats, the fats. And what do we in our idiotic culture, our brain dead from a biochemical and biological perspective, what do we tell people to stay away from?
Fat-free.
Fats. Fats. The stupidity. What you want to be careful of, however, and this is why Dr. Wallach's been talking about this for so long, is distorted fats. Because distorted fats will lead to distorted membranes. And distorted membranes are where we age. And distorted membranes are the cause of cancer. And distorted membranes are the source for autoimmune attacks and diseases. And distorted membranes are the key to neurological issues and brain issues and cognitive issues. It's in the membranes. Are you with me? Does it make sense, you guys? Why the membrane? Because the magic is in the membrane. It's where that becomes this or this becomes that, where A becomes B, the membrane. So you want to work on membranes wherever you can, and that's fats. Fatty vitamins, and this is we're talking about the skin, but it's true about everything. Fatty vitamins, D, E, A, and K. DEEK. Where do you get D? Where do you get D, Michelle?
From the sun?
Yeah, what do they tell you to stay away from? You know, you're in New York.
Yeah,
they tell you all the time. They tell you to stay out of the sun. Your knucklehead dermatologist, don't go out in the sun. Don't go out in the sun. That's where your vitamin D comes from. And they say, oh, well, you can take your vitamin D from pills. No, it's not the same. Yes, you were going to say something? Vitamin D from the sun.
If you wear sunscreen and
no,
you go
you're
out
not going to get vitamin D.
You're not going to get the vitamin D.
No. Right. So you go out you go out into the sun without sunscreen, don't burn.
For how long a period of time?
5 minutes, 10 minutes a day. You don't need a lot. Okay, 5-10 minutes a day. Okay, everybody's gonna be a little different. If you're darker, you're gonna have you're not as dark, so you'll be fine 5 or 10 minutes a day. But if you're darker, me or AJ, we have to go in longer. Okay, and by the way, interestingly, the darker skin types, especially black skin, is more prone towards prostate problems, hypertension, blood sugar problems, all of which are controlled or partially at least regulated by vitamin D. So for black skin, melanized skin, darker skin types, you need more sun. Anyway, vitamin D. The second fatty vitamin, which is incredibly important for the skin, is A. Okay, vitamin A internally. And you need a lot of it, like 10, 20,000 international units a day, not RDA stuff, extra vitamin A. Then there's vitamin E, which is very interesting. Why? Because vitamin E is not incorporated into membranes. Other fats are incorporated into membranes, or they're utilized to make membranes. Vitamin E protects membranes. It's a guard. Nature has come up with a guard. How cool is that? How cool is God, the divine force? It came up with a guard. Vitamin E is just a guard. It just stands guard, and when the membrane gets attacked, vitamin E to the rescue. It's the guardian against membrane attacks, which is why you need a lot of vitamin E.
Is it a water-soluble vitamin or
no?
Is it
it's fat-soluble. It's fatty. They do make some water-soluble types, but it's fatty. The main type is fatty. Its natural source is fatty. It's found in fatty foods, but not a lot of them. It's really hard to find in foods, and especially when you process those foods. So you got to supplement, and you got to supplement a lot with them. And you asked about the sun. That's one of the best ways to protect yourself from the sun, is to make sure you have enough vitamin E, and also from distorted fats, which is another problem. I'll talk about that here in a second. Then there is vitamin K, the fourth fatty vitamin, which activates wound healing, and tissue growth in the skin and all over the body, really, but in the skin especially. So between wound healing, tissue growth, guardianship, activation, which is what vitamin A does, and then vitamin D for regulating cell growth. You have the 4 fatty vitamins for all the body, but especially for the skin. Okay. Then you have perhaps the most, arguably, I don't want to say the most important, but pretty much the most important of all the molecules for the skin are the essential fatty acids. The essential fatty acids act like parents, like precursors, sources for all of your inflammatory and anti-inflammatory chemistry. The body is constantly in this balance of inflammation and anti-inflammation, constantly. That's one of the ways it grows and protects itself and heals and does its work. In fact, in many ways, the body that we see is the end result of an infinite amount of inflammatory and anti-inflammatory contraction and relaxation, opening and closing responses. All of these are like a yin and yang that's going on, and they're always happening. And the parents of that, the parent molecules, the precursor molecules for all of that are the essential fatty acids. They control inflammation in the body. They control the inflammatory response. And when you think of inflammation, you don't want to just limit it to a black eye, because that's what most people think of. A black eye, a sprained ankle, you get knot on the head. We have this image of what inflammation is, but the inflammation that I'm talking about is microscopic inflammation. And this is very important for the skin, incredibly important for the skin. And I'll tell you why. In order for me to tell you why, we've got to talk a little bit about the second part that we kind of brushed over, which is the layers. Okay? So when you see a problem on your skin, we look at our skin, we say, oh my God, there's a problem. What the heck? How did that happen? In fact, it's the only time we ever think about our skin is we look in the mirror and go, oh my God, that wasn't there yesterday. That's the only time anybody thinks of their skin, right, Michelle? You never think about your skin until you look in the mirror. You say, where the heck did that come from? Right? That's everybody. So when you look at the skin, instead of looking at it as where did that zit come from or that dark spot or that wrinkle, we want to look at it like layers, like baklava or like lasagna.
Right.
Okay? Lasagna, we'll take lasagna, has layers. The skin has layers. It has a top layer, it has a middle layer, and it has a bottom layer. And if you want to simplify it, we'll just say a top layer and a bottom layer.
Michelle,
top layer is made up.
Is it the dermis and the epidermis or the subcutaneous?
Yeah, Michelle knows a little bit here. Good job there, Michelle. Yeah.
Michelle, is it baklava or baklava?
Baklava.
Baklava, no.
I don't know what it is. That's a very important question. Thank you for bringing that up, AJ. All right, so anyway, the skin's layered, right? So for our intents and purposes, we'll just call it 2 layers. It's really 3, but for now, we'll just say 2 layers. Got the epidermis, correct, and the dermis. Right. The tippy top is the stratum corneum, and some people tell you it's part of the epidermis. I consider it to be its own, but that's a whole other story. We'll say the epidermis and the dermis, right? Okay. So let's take the epidermis first. This is very important, because when we see the skin and we see something on the skin, we don't know what the heck to do. We don't understand it. And that's why we go to dermatologists. And they don't understand it either. So we end up with crazy strategies that never work. So here's
that they give us topical solutions to put on it, but you're not getting
they don't give you topical solutions. They give you topical symptom removers that remove the symptoms. Right. There's no solutions. They ain't solving no problem. Right. They just suppress the symptoms. But now that I tell you what's going on, it'll make more sense for not just you, Michelle, but everybody. So you got layers. You got the epidermis and the dermis. The epidermis is made up of, like everything else, cells and stuff. The cells in the epidermis, the mother of the epidermis, if you want to consider the cells to be the mother, are called keratinocytes or skin cells. Okay? I call them skin cells, keratinocytes technically. Keratin means is a protein that, like your fingernails or your hair or scales on a fish or on a crocodile, whatever, there's hooves, etc. They're all keratin. It all comes from the keratinocyte. Cyte means cell. Here's the coolest thing about the skin, and one of the reasons, to me as a skin guy, I just find this to be incredibly fascinating. Hopefully you will too. In the epidermis, you have these mother cells. These parent cells, they're keratinocytes. They come, by the way, from stem cells. So you got stem cell nurseries that give birth to keratinocytes. The keratinocytes are alive in the bottom of the skin. They're called the basal cells in the bottom of the skin. Why? Because they live in the base, the basal layer. Okay. The next layer up is called the squamous layer. So the keratinocyte rises from the bottom to the top, from the bottom, the basal layer, to the squamous layer. And then something very interesting happens at the level of the squamous layer. And the next level, between those two levels, the cell dies. It's no longer alive. So you say, what the heck? So what do I need the cell for? Well, this dead cell, which is now a carcass, like a shell, starts to rise to the top. And as it's rising, it's dumping its contents overboard. And those contents will eventually become something. Hang on to that thought. I'll tell you what they will become here in a moment. And as this keratinocyte is rising from the bottom top, is this all making sense? I don't see anybody else. I'm using you as my example here. Somewhat. So the cell's born in the bottom. It rises to the top. And as it's rising to the top, it's dumping its contents overboard. With me so far?
Yeah.
And then as it rises to the top, inside, things are changing shape. But it's dead. It's not alive. It stopped living at the squamous layer. And as it's rising to the top, it's not alive anymore. It's just changing shape. And it's dumping its contents overboard until it comes to the top. And at the top, it's no longer a keratinocyte at all. It's a dead cell. It's a carcass. It's a shell with little molecules inside. I'll tell you what they do in a moment. And those fats, that stuff that got dumped overboard, those become fats. And they act to seal up the surface. You see how this whole process happens? Okay, it's a very important process if you want to have beautiful skin. I'll tell you why here in a second. Okay, so the keratinocyte is born in the bottom, rises to the top. As it's rising to the top, it's dumping its contents overboard. Those contents will rise and become fats, lipids, all the moist, all the stuff that traps water in the surface, and the cells will be an empty shell, a carcass with little molecules inside. Those molecules are designed to trap water, to suck up water from the air. They become sponges. Those molecules are called the natural moisture factor. And so now you've transformed this entire process from living cells in the basal layer and the squamous layer to dead cells on the top with sponges inside them and fats. And this happens every second. As you and I are talking, this is constantly occurring, and cells are dropping off. As you're talking to me, the last 5 minutes, a million or a billion of your cells have flown off your face and are circulating in your house. And if you looked at a dust bunny under your bed, 50% of it would be dead skin cells that have all been flopping off as this process has occurred. And now I'm telling you the process, but I'll tell you what goes wrong here in a second. But you have a question. Did you have a question?
When you're saying it's spilling over, is it spilling over to the surface level of our skin? Are we seeing it?
It goes to the surface and then it flops off.
Okay.
As you're sitting here talking, as I'm talking to you on Zoom, there are cells flopping off your skin right now.
So
as we're talking.
Dead skin cells? Is that what's coming off?
Dead skin cells are flopping off. They're microscopic. Okay. You can't see them. But
so is that why people exfoliate in order to get
well, hang on. Don't be jumping ahead here, okay? Don't be jumping ahead. That process of cells dropping off, that is called like destruction, squamation. Squam means cell. Desquamation is the cells flopping off. That happens every time, all of us. And when you're younger, believe it or not, desquamation occurs much more efficiently and much faster.
Right.
As we age, desquamation doesn't occur as fast.
Why is that?
Hang on, I'll tell you.
Okay.
The desquamation is what triggers the growth. So you get growth, desquamation, growth. This is the beauty of the system.
Right.
How beautiful is this? It's out with the old, in with the new. It's natural. It's a beautiful, natural way of assuring you have constantly fresh tissue all the time. You desquame, that triggers growth. And it not only triggers growth from this movement upwards, that they call transit, this movement upwards from the basal layer upwards, but it even triggers growth for the fibroblast. It activates the fibroblast. So what do you know that you're supposed to do regularly that mimics desquamation to turn on the fibroblast and to turn on the keratinocytes to improve transit? What should you be doing every day or every other day? You said it already. You said it. Exfoliating. That's why you want to exfoliate. you're imitating desquamation. Now, when you're younger, it's not as important because desquamation occurs naturally. But as we age, the desquamatory process slows down.
Why is
And you
that?
asked a very important bingo. Why is that? This is what my whole point in telling you how this whole process begins. See, this process of cells going from the bottom to the top is very controlled. It's a very tightly regulated, complex process with feedback loops and enzymatic reactions that require just the right acid, just the right fluidity, just the right cleanliness, just the right oxygen. But as we age, that doesn't happen. We become malnourished as we age. Our blood supply, which delivers the nutrients, becomes clogged, so we don't deliver nutrients as we age. We become toxic as we age. As we age, not only does sugar build up, but toxicity from the digestive system builds up. And this is the point I want to make. When you look at the skin, what you have to see is all of this activity.
Right.
And then you'll realize that when a particle gets put into the tissue inappropriately, it can throw everything off. It can throw off the entire system. Where do those particles come from? Well, when you become toxic at the level of the blood, one of the things the blood will do is dump off its toxicity. That's one of the things that happens when you become toxic at the level of the blood. I call it dirty blood. Maybe you've heard me say this. When the blood becomes dirty, the body will dump the toxins out. Well, where do you think it dumps the toxins out? It dumps the toxins out into the soft tissues, into the connective tissue, and especially into the skin. And so when we become toxic at the level of the blood, either from sugar or from a leaky gut, which is mostly what happens, that toxicity, those immune cells, will make their way to the skin. And that will completely throw off that process. And you will see it as eczema. You will see it as dry skin. You will see it as rashes. You will see it as growths. You will see it as all kinds of things, acne, psoriasis, eczema. And you'll go to your dermatologist and you think he's going to spend the time telling you what I just told you for the last 10 minutes?
No, of course not.
No, he's going to give you a steroid cream that shuts everything down, not realizing that the whole thing comes from the toxicity in the blood that's been dumped into the skin. And I'm only talking the epidermis here. We haven't got to the fibroblasts yet, or to the dermis yet. You follow me? Are you following how you see how this, you see how not seeing what's really happening makes us vulnerable. Now, there's probably, I don't know how many people are listening to this program now, 50 people, 100 people. Nobody else knows this unless they've been coming to my talks and listening. It's not your dermatologist. Nobody knows this, and nobody's telling us this. And that's why we go through our life not knowing what the heck to do with our skin, and we're just lost. Because we don't see the layers, and we don't see the growth, and we don't see the cells, and we don't see the transit time, and we don't realize that the blood is dumping toxicity everywhere. And you see why yesterday I couldn't just tell you on the phone, in a couple-minute conversation. I haven't even got to the dermis yet, and I haven't even gotten to the intestines and all the other nutrients. There's so much here, but I just want to give you a flavor of, number one, what can go wrong, and number two, how easy it is to resolve. Now let's get to the dermis really quickly, because that's where aging really has its impact. What I just told you about is where the barrier will have its impact, and also to a certain extent the hydration. So the barrier is going to determine everything. We said the skin is made up of two layers, but there's really a top layer, a tippy top layer, right? That's the stratum corneum. That's the barrier. When this whole thing gets disturbed, right? This movement gets disturbed, the end result is a weak barrier. Can you see how that would happen? Yeah. When the cells aren't, you get a weak barrier. And you don't get the fats. Remember, the fats are being dumped off, so you don't get the fats. So you don't get the fats, you get a weak barrier. You'll see that as sensitive skin. Or you'll see that as weird skin tags or growths. Or you'll see that as acne. Or you'll see that as psoriasis. Or you'll see that as eczema. Barrier disruptions are also associated with hyperpigmentation. So all of these skin problems that we want to resolve have to be resolved at the level of the keratinocyte, which means the membrane, and at the level of the digestive system and the blood sugar system, which means the digestive system and the sugar, which means the blood. So those are where you want to work on. Fatty vitamins, more fluids, connective tissue building nutrients, all the healthy bone and joint pack. What do you think the most important nutrient is for the whole system, by the way? I haven't got to the dermis yet. I haven't forgotten that. What do you think the most important vitamin? Vitamin C. Vitamin C is the most important vitamin for this whole system to work correctly. And that's not a membrane vitamin, although it's involved a little bit. So that's the epidermis. Then you got the wrinkles. And that's what, and also the thinness. The thinness and the wrinkles are at the end result of poor fibroblastic activity. When the fibroblasts don't make the collagen and they don't make the goo, the high hyaluronic acid, we'll call it, the water has nowhere to stick to. See, it's not water in your skin. You got this beautiful plump skin. That's not water. It's trapped water. It's water that is like a sponge. The water in a sponge is different from the water that's in a cup. The water in a sponge is trapped. Now, sponge doesn't have to provide a really good trap, but the water in your skin, in your body, and in cells and in tissues, that's like a super sponge. And in fact, the sponge activity of the collagen and the high hyaluronic acid actually changes the shape of the water. Somebody wrote structured water. Yes, it structures the water. And the combination of the collagen and the high hyaluronic acid and the structured water is what makes your skin beautiful. It's this combination of those three factors. How do you get the collagen? Well, I'm going to tell you topically, there's things you could do, but let's talk internally. Again, number one, the fats. Why? The membranes and the fibroblast. Fibroblast is a cell, so the mitochondria in the membranes, the organelles in the membranes, the membrane of the fibroblast, all depends on fats, so there's your fats. The essential fatty acids, those are controlling inflammation and anti-inflammation. If you have the wrong balance of essential fatty acids, that is too many omega-6s or distorted fats, it completely throws off the inflammatory system. And this accounts for major cause of chronic disease is disruptions in the inflammatory, anti-inflammatory balance. You know how they say to take an aspirin, you have a bad heart, or baby aspirin. Why? Because it restores the balance. EFAs are nature's aspirin. They're God's aspirin. They're natural aspirin. They restore the balance. So making sure you're getting the right essential fatty acids, A, that means in the correct balance, 6 to 3, and making sure you're not getting the distorted essential fatty acid or the distorted fats, the cooked ones, the heated ones, the fried ones, the old ones, the rancid ones. Those are very, very pro-inflammatory. So making sure you're doing your EFAs in addition to your fatty vitamins becomes very, very important for the fibroblasts. In fact,
what is EFA
essential fatty acid. Essential fatty acids. Okay. Right. In fact, there's a horrible fibroblast disease that is related to distortions and disturbances and shortages of fats and fatty vitamins. It's called keloids. It's not a disease. It's like, have you ever seen keloids? AJ probably knows what I'm talking about. Keloids are these horrible scars. AJ may have one, okay? You're lucky you don't have them in your face. People have them on their face. They're these horrible scars that are a classic sign of disturbances in fibroblastic activity following inflammation. Did you know that, AJ? People who have keloids tend to have deficiencies in fats and vitamin D and such. So what I'm saying is the fibroblasts are very dependent on these fats. Okay, so that's the first thing you're going to do. So the fats, you're going to stay away from anything inflammatory that gets into the digestive system. If you have leaky gut, if you have Crohn's disease, celiac disease, bloating, gas, SIBO, any of those things have to be corrected because that's where the toxicity gets into the blood to disturb the skin cells. Make sure you keep your blood sugar down. Once your blood sugar goes up and your insulin goes up, that also creates inflammatory disturbances at the level of the dermis and the epidermis. And those are the things you want to do internally. Then, of course, your fatty vitamins and vitamin C and the mighty 90 essential nutrients, all the things we just talked about. Then, see how much, there's tons here, right? And I'm only scratching the surface. There's so much more. Then there's the topical things you can do. Remember, the skin's on the outside, so you can treat the skin in a way you can't do the heart or the spleen or the liver because they're inside, right? So topically, you want to exfoliate. Why? Because as we age, desquamation slows down as we become toxic, as the inflammatory factors build in, as we suffer from these nutritional deficiencies, as all the things we do accrue, and the damage accrues in the body. Eventually, that's going to show up as a sluggishness, a slowdown in the desquamatory process. In addition to an imbalance, it'll slow everything down. Exfoliating speeds it up, and it also speeds up the production of moisture factors. It also speeds up the fats. You follow me? It strengthens the barrier. You get more moisture factors. You get more fats. All of this is how the skin's supposed to stay hydrated naturally. Not a what happens when you put a moisturizer on? What do you think happens? You shut that all down. You suppress all that. That's why I
Because you're
say the
clogging the
dumbest.
pores. Is that why?
You're slowing it down.
Okay.
You're putting heavy stuff on the surface. Of putting a coat on, a fabric on.
Right.
The skin's no longer responsive. It's no longer electrically active. It's no longer able to absorb oxygen and expel gases and absorb water. You've completely disturbed the chemistry. Listen, the stupidest thing we do to our skin is put occlusive, heavy products on the surface. Yet everybody who's listening to this call, including you, Michelle, probably do that. I saw Kim Kardashian do something on a commercial or a video or something. She had a freaking put her hand in moisturizer. She had it covered with some waxy goop that she was going to put up on her skin. And this is what we all do. It's
what
the
should we be
worst
doing
thing
instead?
you could. Exfoliating and doing all the nutriating. Exfoliating is the opposite. Instead of putting something on, you're stripping it. You're moving stuff.
Right.
You're turning it on. You're taking it to the gym. It's like the difference between sitting by the pool and just vegging and going and getting an extra good workout. And you may say, well, I want to sit by the pool. Well, your skin doesn't want you sitting by the pool. Your skin wants to be exercised. So you exfoliate. And then the second thing you do after you exfoliate, because you've now shaken things up on the surface, is you drive in nutrition, topical nutrition. What are the most important nutrients for the skin? Vitamin A and vitamin C. They're not the only ones. K is important, D is important, E is important. There's a lot that are important, but the two most important are vitamin A and vitamin C. Now, vitamin C is a little tricky because the vitamin C that most people use is very unstable. It breaks down quickly. So you need fatty vitamin C. The best kind is called THDA. And by the way, thanks for putting that up because that's what Truth Treatments are all about. And I know you've been using you've been using the Truth for a little bit now, right, Michelle?
I have, yes.
Yes, you have. What do you think? Give me a little plug here.
So far, so good. So far,
so
so
how
good.
long's it been? How long's it been?
I think about 2 months.
2 months. That's it. Okay, good. Well, your skin looks beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay. And the reason is Truth Treatments are the vitamins and the essential nutrients and the minerals and the fats that you got to put on the skin. And the beautiful thing about the surface of the skin is it can take in nutrients. So vitamin C has to be fatty, and vitamin A is incredibly important for the genetics of the skin. And this is amazing what I'm going to say here now, with vitamin A, you can actually put it on the surface and change the genetics at the bottom. Remember I said that the cells are dead after a certain point, right? It's the squamous layer. It's just the basal and the squamous layer. After that, and by the way, what are the only two kinds of skin cancer? Basal cancer and squamous cancer. Or basal cell carcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma. Why is that? Because there's no life after that. The only place where there's life is in the squamous layer and the basal layer. So at the level of the basal layer and the level of the squamous layer and the level of the fibroblast, vitamin A can actually turn on the genetics. It can actually turn on the genes. That means, and this is incredible, you could put vitamin A on the surface of the skin and change the genetics underneath. That's amazing. And that makes it the most powerful skin vitamin. So powerful, it's actually a drug. It's actually a prescription drug. And I don't know if you know this, but vitamin A is actually chemotherapy for lung cancer. They actually will give vitamin A as chemotherapy because it's that powerful for regulating epigenetically, you know what I'm saying? Epigenetically, the genome. So vitamin A is the next one. Now, I like retinol because you don't have to go to get from the dermatologist. Some people like retin A, retinoic acid. I prefer retinol. Retinol is not only important for the genetics, it also helps exfoliate the surface of the skin. And on top of everything else, by driving the production of collagen and hyaluronic acid, guess what happens when you exfoliate and you put vitamin A and vitamin C on the skin? You get moisturized naturally without a fake, dumb moisturizer. And by the way, and I confront this all the time in my business, that feeling you get when you put your moisturizer on, right? That ain't moisture. That ain't moisturizing. That's slickerizing. There's no moisture happening there. We have this illusion that when you put moisture, you feel slick. And I've got people coming to me all the time, and they say to me that I put that vitamin, my True Treatments, and my skin is dry. No, it's not dry. It's just not slick. We confuse slickness with dryness. I'm going to tell you something that is going to be so obvious to you, but you never thought of this. We don't know when we have dry skin. We can't tell when we have dry skin. You cannot feel dry skin. What we call dry skin is rough skin. It's hard skin. We don't know. We can't feel hydration. We can only feel roughness. And you say, okay, so what's the big deal? Here's the big deal. If you have rough skin, you could put frickin' mayonnaise on it and it won't be rough. You could put yogurt on it. You could put coconut oil on it. You could put olive oil. And people say that sometimes. Oh, I just used olive oil. I just used coconut oil. As if that's going to moisturize your skin. What? It's oil. How's it going to moisturize? It doesn't even make sense when you think about it. But what it does do is it softens the keratin. So you say, okay, that's great. I'm softening my keratin. Fine. But you're not hydrating. And when you don't hydrate and don't change the hydration of the skin, you're more prone towards skin cancer. You're more prone towards dermatitis. You're more prone towards barrier disruption. You're more prone towards hyperpigmentation. You're more prone towards dry skin. You're more prone towards everything when you don't have the right hydration in the tissue. The hydration of the tissue is not so you can feel comfortable. It's so your skin can be healthy and it won't get wrinkles and it won't have dark spots and you won't get skin. You see where I'm going here? So how do you change the hydration? Well, I'll tell you how you don't change the hydration, and that's by putting your silly moisturizer on, or your coconut oil, or olive oil, or yogurt, or whatever it is. That isn't going to change the hydration, and you're still going to be more prone towards diseases and accelerated aging. And guess what? We have all kinds of skincare products, and everybody's got lousy skin. We got more moisturizers than any other country, than any other culture in the history of the human race. $10 billion a year in moisturizers. How well is that working for you, people? Right? How many people that don't have dry skin? Everybody has dry skin. And we're all using moisturizers. Clearly, our strategies don't work. And it's because we're trying to treat the skin without understanding what the skin is. And it's not our faults necessarily, because you're going to love this. Our understandings of the skin came from Helena Rubinstein and Estee Lauder and Elizabeth Arden. You think these were scientists, famous skin scientists, molecular biologists? No. They were little old ladies who wanted to make some money, and they did. And they made up these stories about how you do this and how you do that, and they wore lab coats, and we're still doing it. Just to give you a classic example. Helena Rubinstein, she's the godmother. I don't know, you probably heard of Helena Rubinstein, right? She's Polish. She was a little old lady. She came here in the turn of the 20th century by way of Australia and France, I think. And she came here, and she started doing this in Australia. She realized that people didn't really know about skin and skincare. And in Europe, even today, but back then, every house made their own skin products. They would mix wax and lanolin and goat milk and this and that and the other, and they make a cream. And that's what it was, like a family tradition, crafty. We didn't do that in the United States, but in some places, but not in a big way. But in Europe, it was a big deal. So Helena Rubinstein, came to Australia first, and she had no money, and she didn't know what to do. But she knew how to make a stupid cream that the Rubinsteins made in Poland somewhere. And so she made up a story. She took this stupid product, which was lanolin and beeswax and crapola. It had nothing to do with your skin because she didn't know anything about skin. And she made up this story. She said, this famous doctor in Poland gave her this magical recipe for this cream, and he would go to the Carpathian Mountains and pick magical herbs to put it together. It was nothing. It was just this waxy lanolin thing, but nobody knew anything about that. So they were like, oh my gosh, Carpathian doctors sounded great. And at the same time, the Industrial Revolution was getting to the point where for the first time in human history, we had more supply than we did demand.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? At the turn of the 20th century, this was a radical thing. It used to be you couldn't find goods. You couldn't make goods, so you had to chop things up, and you had to do all kinds of stuff to get your soap and you get your bricks and whatever they got. It was a lot of work, but after the Industrial Revolution, it was all commoditized. So for the first time, right when Helena Rubinstein was making up her silly story about Valais, she called it Valais cream from the Carpathian Mountains, the Industrial Revolution was getting going, and there was more disposable income.
Right.
So there was more need there was a greater availability for spas and salons, and there was movie stars. The movies were starting to get going, and magazines were starting to get printed. So whole culture was developing, and these women, God bless them, they knew all about marketing. They rode the wave.
Right.
They rode the wave, and they made up stories. pH balance, Elizabeth Arden, 1920. Oily skin, dry skin, sensitive skin, SD Lauder, 1930. The clinical tested hypoallergenic, that's more SD Lauder. All the things that we do today, they come from these little old ladies in the turn of the 20th century who didn't know nothing about nothing. And nothing's changed. And we, instead of Valais cream, we have other creams with snail slime and snake eggs and salmon DNA and sperm and guava and bat shit and all these things they put in skincare products. And that's all we do. And it was made by this doctor and this esthetician, this famous celebrity, and Kim Kardashian, blah, 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 blah. And it's become this kind of joke. And it's not a joke to you because you love your skin. And it's not a joke to AJ or the people listening, but it's a joke to the people in the business. And I know because I go to the shows and I go buy the products. I know they think it's a joke. It's not a joke. And I'm a dermatology pharmacist, and I'm dealing with people who have burns, and I'm dealing with people who have traumas and skin rashes, and they don't think it's a joke. I'm dealing with a baby who fell off a high chair and has a big old gash on their head, or somebody who has a 3rd-degree burn, or somebody who had heart surgery and has a long scar down his back. That ain't a joke. Or people have psoriasis or skin diseases. There's no joke. This is not a game. This is serious. And when you want to take care of your skin, you have to do. There's nothing you have to do that's different from taking care of any other part of the body. You stimulate it, you nutriate it, you keep it clean. You do all the things that you have to do to keep a cell healthy. And what I just told you in the last hour or so is not even the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to talk about, and that's what I spend most of my days doing, is talking about the skin and talking to professionals or students who will be professionals. And you check out my products at truthtreatments.com, and there's tons more, but that's a great place for you to start. Also, I should mention chicken soup, one of the best skin foods you could ever eat, homemade, not the cheap stuff, real homemade. Okay.
Pharmacist Ben.
Yes.
You're escaping, but
no?
Let me just let Michelle know that, this community, we have the internal products to help your skin. So Pharmacist Ben, you got to introduce her to our team. So
this is Beyond. Have you seen this? Beyond Tangy?
You mentioned it yesterday.
Beyond Tangy. This stuff is the rock star of nutritional supplements. I've been talking about it for 27 years. I've been taking it for 20 plus years. Before that, I took Tangy Tangerine. You should talk to AJ and get some of this stuff. And I don't know if you have any specific skin issues, but if you have anything specific, you should tell me about. You do?
I don't.
Or
know.
you don't. You
Just
don't. You look very healthy.
One last question. When you're saying exfoliating, do you mean exfoliating with the retinol or just like a?
Okay. There's several ways you can exfoliate. What we're really trying to do is we're trying to knock cells off of the surface, right?
Right.
Okay. So you can do that with a washcloth. You could do that with a loofah pad.
Right.
You can do that with microdermabrasion. You could do that with shaving. When men shave, they do that. So lots of ways to do that. Enzymes will do that. But the best way to do it is to get rid of the dead cells and at the same time make the skin more acidic. And that's with alpha hydroxy acids. That's the best way to exfoliate the skin. Glycolic acid, lactic acid, malic acid. There's a bunch of them. If you want to use Truth products, get the AHA energizing exfoliator. The second thing that you mentioned, retinol, that will have some exfoliating properties for sure. But its real claim to fame is its genetic activation, the way it activates the genes. The epigenetically activates the genes. But yes, you will get some exfoliating. In fact, we haven't talked about melasma, which is one of the hardest things that an esthetician or a skincare professional has to treat. Melasma means hyperpigmentation or dark spots. And I haven't talked about that, but there's ways to address that. But topically, the best way to address it is retinol, because retinol will, number one, exfoliate, like you say, get rid of the dead cells that contain the pigment. And retinol also acts to inhibit the production excess production of pigment. So it has two mechanisms. Retinol will exfoliate, to answer your question, but AHAs are the primary way that you want to exfoliate.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Michelle.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. All right.
Hey, pharmacist. No.
Who is this? Is that Becca? That's not Becca.
That is Elise.
Hi, Elise.
Guys. Look what just arrived today.
Oh my goodness. I've been so reticent about my products but let me see what you got there.
I'm excited.
Let me see what you got. Biomimetic Mineral Mist, that's my minerals. And then what is that? Oh, that's my Mandela cleanser, my new Mandela cleanser. You're gonna love that one. Okay, good. Thank you, Elise. I appreciate that.
But Elise has got.
Oh, well, you got one more. I can't see what those are. I can't really read
Hyaluronic, mineral, hydrate, and then
hydrator.
So the transdermal C serum and the hyaluronic.
Transdermal C serum is my most important product. The mist and the serum. Just put one drop on. Are you wearing makeup?
Right now, yes.
Are you wearing makeup? Okay, if you don't wear makeup tonight, this is what I want you to do. And lipstick too.
AJ.
What are you trying to tell us there, Elise?
I'm not trying to say anything.
I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing you. So here's what I want you to do, Elise. Tonight.
Okay.
I want, when you take your makeup off, take 1 or 2 drops. And by the way, you never want to put too much product on your skin. You want to put as little product in your skin as possible. So put 1 or 2 drops of transdermal C serum in the palm of your hand, and then spray the biomimetic mineral mist with it and make a little puddle in your hands and rub it on half your face.
Okay.
Just one half.
Okay.
Okay. And then compare. And you will not going to believe what you see.
Really?
Now, what you see, and then do the whole face. And then that's just for you to see. But over the course of the days and weeks, this is what's going to happen. Okay. If you do this correctly, people are going to say, what are you doing to your skin? And it won't take very long. It'll take less than a week. People say, what are you doing to your skin? Now, if you wear makeup, it'll be a little different because that covers it. But if you don't wear makeup, whoever sees you without makeup, I don't know if you're married, if you have a husband around or anything like that, he'll say, what are you doing to your skin? Or whoever it is, your friends who see you without makeup, they will ask you. That's and then you know what will happen eventually? You'll be able to go out without makeup.
Awesome.
Eventually, yes. That's the most common thing that happens. Okay.
Hey, Pharmacist Ben, Elise has got some health questions.
Yes, ma'am.
You gotta help her out. Shoot,
okay.
Rapid fire. We're over time.
Are you a new person? Are you a longevity person or new or?
Yes.
New.
No.
Elise has been on our show before. Pharmacist.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, are you a distributor or use the products? Okay,
I'm a distributor.
Right,
I'm a health coach. I use the products.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
This now.
Okay, good.
Really quick, I have a 12-year-old that's around 105 pounds that frequently has nosebleeds.
Okay, what could that be?
And
this is how old? How old is this person?
He's 12.
Okay, that's very young.
Pharmacist Ben,
but it's a problem.
On this one?
Say again? Yes, you can, of course.
When I was 12 years old, I had nosebleeds. You could look at me too hard and my nose would bleed. And the doctor said to me, don't eat eggs, don't eat tomato, don't eat
my God. That's brilliant.
The only thing he didn't say was stop eating a loaf of Wonder Bread every day.
Okay. All right. Well, he still said the other stuff. That's awesome that he said that. That's brilliant, actually, for an old time, for back in the 70s or 80s or whenever that was. That's really brilliant. And that's exactly the answer. That's like all health conditions, as I was explaining to Michelle when we talked about the skin. That's kind of believe it or not, that's a skin problem. Except it's not the outside part of the skin. It's the inside part of the skin, meaning it's the inside of the blood vessels. What you're experiencing is a weakening of the blood vessels following some kind of inflammatory response. So what you want to do for this kid is you want to do the triangulation thing and see what else he's got going on. Nobody just has nosebleeds. It doesn't just happen. That's the fruit. That's not the root. The nosebleeds are the apple, the rotten apple in the tree. We got to see what's going on, and that's going to be inflammatory, and it's going to involve something that's getting into the blood inappropriately, and of course that means the digestive system. So what that doctor told AJ was exactly the right answer. He didn't say it specifically, but he said avoid eggs, avoid the other stuff because he's avoiding digestive reactions and leaky gut. And that's really what you're on focus on. And then it wouldn't hurt him. He's 12, so it's unusual. Most 12-year-olds don't need it, but I would get him on the Healthy Start Pack as well. And then we also have a food diary, at least I don't know if you know this, on criticalhealthnews.com. Have everybody out there, doing this food thing is very tricky, but it's really helpful, especially if you're dealing with a challenging health problem. And the food diary can be helpful. So go to criticalhealthnews.com and get the health diary or food diary.
Okay. And then a 66-year-old who has been suffering from tinnitus for over 20 years, who is not on medications or anything.
It's one of the most incredibly frustrating, horrible things somebody can deal with, and I can't even begin to imagine. Although I have friends who have it, and I've seen patients who had it, and it's. Can you imagine this, Elise, living like this, with a ringing, just a constant? It would drive you nuts. It would drive you absolutely insane. Right? Yeah, and I can't, my heart goes out to people who have this condition. Some people have it to greater extent than others. If you have it really bad, I can't even imagine how you live with it. So here's the problem with tinnitus, right? And can AJ come back on here?
Sir.
Tinnitus. It's the fruit. It's not the root. You got to go back. You can't affect it unless somebody's been hit in the head or something exploded near them. For most tinnitus, which is degenerative and occurs over the course of time, you're dealing with inflammation. It's an inflammatory condition. Where does inflammation come from? It's the protective response. Where is the body's protective response initiated? Food, digestion, gut, all of it. So do like with the other kid, backtrack to how the toxicity is getting into the system. And I hate to sound like I'm repeating myself over and over again. It sounds like I'm saying the same thing, but it is all the same thing. It literally is toxicity in the blood, whether it's sugar toxicity or a leaky gut toxicity that leads to this inflammatory response. It's behind everything. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. AJ.
Elise, you're the bomb. We got to do something.
You're the bomb. Thank you.
Somebody needs to see you more,
What's that? What are you saying?
Good to see you, Elise.
Thank you, Elise.
I hope you got my email, and I hope you got in the Telegram group today. Did you get in there?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Okay. Awesome.
We love having you.
Thank you, Elise.
Pharmacist.
I think I remember Elise. She wasn't wearing glasses last time, though, was she?
Elise was with her mom, and you helped her mom a bit.
Did I help her mom?
You did help.
Yeah, you guys. I don't know if I help anybody. You got to let me know if this stuff's working.
Ben, you help everybody.
I know. I try to help everybody, but I don't know if I'm actually helping everybody.
Okay, so we have Cliff, who is on YouTube right now, and I'm just going to put up what Cliff said earlier. Cliff, where is the thing you said, Cliff? He said, I could listen to, besides the fact that he said I could listen to Ben all day, he says this, but then he also said,
Cliffy.
He said,
thank you, Cliff.
He said, I'm almost 70, med free. I was on meds most of my life, and I'm off.
Damn.
Pharmacist.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
You help people, Pharmacist Ben.
All right. Thank you, Cliff. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And never forget that you do help people, and we appreciate you. And Friday, you want to pick up more skin stuff, or you just...
we'll just come up with a topic. Get something that people want to hear, letters or something. We'll figure it out. Okay.
Well, we'll do Q&A on Friday. And Becca Dukes, you are about to get spotlighted because it is time.
Oh no, Becca! But you're so pretty, Becca. Take that off. You look beautiful.
So fantastic. And
you look fantastic. Take that off. Take that. Don't hide your face. You look beautiful. You don't need nothing. You feel naked though, probably.
Absolutely. And I wanted to tell you, Becca, your hair looks fantastic. Looks full of life.
Yeah, you look great. You look awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night. Thank you for doing it. And everybody, if you want to get more information, be sure to email us at questions@dailywithdoc.com. And Pharmacist Ben, you're the man. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
So let's talk about a real medical puzzle. It's a heart condition that is way more common than you'd think. It can be deadly, and, well, the official story is that it's an inherited genetic curse. But what if that whole story's wrong? What if the answer isn't in our DNA at all? And what if, for decades, the solution has been hiding out in, of all places, a barn?
First things first, let's get a handle on just how big of a deal this is. We're talking about a genuine medical mystery that's affecting hundreds of thousands of people. And a lot of them, they don't even know they have it. 1 in every 500 people. Just let that number sink in for a second. According to the American Heart Association, that's how many folks in the US are walking around with something called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM. For a serious heart condition, that number is absolutely staggering.
And here's the official line you'll get. It's the most common inherited heart disease in the world. The thinking is, this isn't just bad luck. It's passed down through your family tree. And the really tragic part? It can lead to sudden death, even in young, super healthy athletes who are at the absolute peak of their physical prime.
Okay, so what exactly is the mainstream story here? How does the medical establishment explain this condition that's supposedly hardwired right into our family code?
The condition itself is pretty straightforward to describe. With HCM, the heart muscle gets abnormally thick. This makes it harder and harder for the heart to do its job of pumping blood, until sometimes it just catastrophically fails. And the cause? Well, because certain gene mutations have been found in people with the condition, the medical world points to one culprit and one culprit only: your genes. The answer, they say, is in your DNA. Period.
And you really got to notice the focus here. The whole approach is about management. It's about standardizing care, trying to control symptoms, and screening other family members. The entire system is built on this idea that it's a genetic legacy you just have to live with, not something you could ever actually fix or, cure. And this is where things take a really sharp turn. What if this entire inherited disease model is just a massive, tragic misunderstanding? What if the medical world has completely missed the most important clue? A clue that, believe it or not, another industry figured out and solved decades ago.
Yeah, you heard that right. Our hunt for answers takes us to a very, very unexpected place: the farm. Because for ages, the livestock industry has been dealing with a condition in their animals that is shockingly similar and just as fatal.
Just look at this comparison. On the left, you have this complex, supposedly genetic human disease. On the right, you've got something farmers call white muscle disease in young livestock. Both involve the breakdown of heart muscle, and both can cause sudden, out-of-the-blue death. I mean, the parallels are just uncanny. So what in the world connects a human heart condition with the disease in lambs and calves? Well, the answer isn't in genetics at all. It's in the dirt.
I mean, look at this. It's practically a mirror image. The heart muscle damage, the risk of sudden death, the breathing problems, it's all there. But now, look at that last row, the known cause. For humans, it's a genetic mystery. For livestock, it's a solved problem, a simple nutritional deficiency. See, for farmers, this isn't a mystery at all. They have known for generations that white muscle disease is just caused by a lack of a trace mineral called selenium in the soil and the feed. And more importantly, they know exactly how to prevent it and even treat it with simple supplements. The answer hasn't been a puzzle. It's been standard operating procedure in veterinary medicine for generations.
So, this is where it gets really mind-blowing. What happens when you take this knowledge from veterinary science and apply it to humans? Well, according to researcher Dr. Joel Wallach, the results are nothing short of revolutionary.
Dr. Wallach points to some incredible, powerful evidence. First, there's a condition in China called Keshan disease, which he says is just another name for HCM. It was rampant in children until the government mandated selenium supplements, and then it basically disappeared. Then he connects selenium deficiency to SIDS, pointing out that the rates plummeted after selenium was added to baby formula. And then, the heart-raking case of Reggie Lewis, the Boston Celtics star, who died from this exact condition while being treated by the best heart doctors in the world, and not one of them ever thought to check for a simple mineral deficiency that any veterinarian could have told them about.
So why does it look like it's genetic? This quote offers a brilliant and simple alternative. It's not that families are passing down bad genes. It's that they're sharing the same bad diet, from the same mineral-poor soil year after year, generation after generation.
And maybe the most incredible piece of the puzzle is the story of heavyweight champ Evander Holyfield. In 1994, he gets diagnosed with cardiomyopathy. He's forced to retire, career's over.
But then, he reportedly starts taking selenium. By 1995, doctors declare his heart is back to normal. He's medically cleared, he gets back in the ring, and he does the impossible. He becomes the heavyweight champion of the world all over again. This isn't just a story about prevention. It suggests this so-called incurable genetic disease might actually be reversible.
So when you put all this evidence together, from the farm to public health in China to elite athletes, it brings us to one last really provocative thought. It's a thought that challenges the entire foundation of how we look at this disease.
And this really is the heart of the matter, isn't it? Is hypertrophic cardiomyopathy some unstoppable genetic destiny that we can only hope to manage? Or is it a tragic, massive nutritional blind spot? A puzzle that veterinary science solved decades ago, while human medicine just keeps looking in all the wrong places? The answer to that question could literally change countless lives.